So I actually started this video earlier and I'm gonna enter that here. Usually I do my videos at home, but I figured that I would try a different approach. So I am out running errands and I thought that I would go ahead and make my video now. I have been sitting on what my daughter said to me. And if you haven't seen my short, what happened was yesterday I spoke to my kids yesterday about moving and how I'm exploring both options, but I value their opinion and what they would possibly want to do given the options that we would have. I'm the type of parent that I talk to my kids and I teach them to tell me what's on their mind in a respectful way. And I always try my best to take their opinions and feelings and thoughts into consideration, but ultimately I am the parent, so I'm going to make the best decision for us as a family, but I always want them to feel included and never secluded. So I talked to them yesterday about our options and I explained to them that I looked into it, and because where we're moving to has year-round school, which is completely different than the school schedule here where we live at, that they would possibly have to stay back a year and repeat the grade. My daughter, let's start with my son. My son, he was frustrated, but he was like, okay, will the school that I go to have football? And I explained to him, yes, the school that I looked into does have football. And so he was game. He was like, that's fine. My daughter, on the other hand, my daughter literally did not say a word to me. She walked away. When she came back, she was like, Ma, I've done some research. And I'm like, oh, Lord, this should be good. Because when this girl does research, she comes with the most outrageous stuff. So I'm like, all right, this should be good. What's the verdict? How you feeling? She's like, I already have trouble in school as it is. I already need extra help. I really don't want to move because I'm going to have to get to know new teachers. And I really don't want to do that. My teachers know me and they work with me and they're able to explain things in ways that I can understand, but it took time to do that. People are so impatient. The light literally just turned green. Anyways, so she says, I don't really want to repeat the grade. That's not something that I want to do. So I said, okay, well, would you like to, instead of, going to a new school in person, because she also had a problem with going to school in person. My daughter is virtual. And so she was like, well, Mom, I don't want to go to school in person and I don't really want to stay back a grade. I'm like, all right. So there's another option. You can just transfer schools and it's another virtual school, but it's a school that my nephew goes to. So I know it's a good school and it is like you don't have to go to school in the morning. Like you can pick whatever time you want to go to school as long as you do the classes and you do the work. So I'm like, all right, give her some freedom, and if things work out, we end up traveling, that'll be good. Then her other option, stay back, go to school in person. She was like, I don't want to do neither one of those. Okay, so what's your solution? She goes, Mom, I'll be 16 in November, and if I have to stay back, I would rather just drop out. I was like, you can't drop out of school. Mind you, I am a high school dropout, right? And I did go back. I went to Job Corps and I did daytime and nighttime classes. It was a lot of work, but I graduated in 9 months with my high school diploma and a trade. So I was certified in hotel and restaurant management. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not really mad about the dropout part because it's possible to go back and get your high school diploma anyways. This girl said, nah, if I drop out, I'm done with school. I was like, you can't do that. You're going to get me in trouble. She was like, actually, no, Mom, because I did the research and both the state that we live in and the state that we might move to have, when you're 16, you can drop out legally and you won't get in trouble, as in me, the parent. And I'm like, who gave you this idea? And she goes, well, my friend is having some issues with school, and they are considering quitting as well when they turn 16, which is in 42 days. And the state that we live in now, she can do that. And so I just looked it up in the state that you said that we might move to, and they have the same law there as well. Y'all, I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted because, hold on, let me switch hands. Okay. Oh, wait. I'm not used to this. Hold on. So, of course, I'm flabbergasted. And I'm just like, are you for real? Like, you'd really choose not to go back to school? She said yes, because it's a lot of work, and I've worked really hard, and I only have 2 years left. So if I have to start over and then I have to do 3 years instead of 2 years, I would rather just not go to school. When I tell y'all, I was mad, but I didn't want to respond and respond out of, you know, the superior, I'm the parent and you're gonna do what I'm saying. So what I say, so I just didn't say anything at all. I told her that I would sleep on it. I didn't talk to her about it this morning before I left, and now that I am out and about, I've just been thinking about it. I don't know how to respond to my child. I really don't. I don't know how to respond to her and her need or want to quit, because I know that the frustration is that we've worked really hard to like establish this rapport with her teachers. They know her really well. They know how to work with her. They know how to break things down if she doesn't understand them, how to break them down in a way that she would understand. And so I do understand the frustrating of starting over. But quitting altogether is just, as a parent, that kind of pissed me off, to be honest with you. I'm gonna just be honest. And sorry for the shaking. Like, I'm literally holding the phone and my arm got tired. My arm gets tired, so I be having to switch, which is why I do my videos at home. But I just, while this was on my mind, I kind of wanted to talk to you about it. And so I really don't even know how to respond to my child about that, because on one hand, I understand not wanting to repeat the grade because that would give her an extra year. But on the other hand, I don't understand quitting altogether, you know? Is that my bus? I can't really see with the sun in my eyes like this, but I don't think it is. What time is it? So I'm just like having a moment, and I hope that you all like understand my frustration and my need to talk about this because I just don't understand quitting altogether, just like giving up. Because I asked her, well, okay, well, if you quit and you dropped out, would you want to go to like Job Corps? Because I went to Job Corps and everything, and she looked it up. She looked at Job Corps. She was like, nope, I don't want to do that. She's like, I would just be done with school. So as a parent, on one hand, I want to tell her she can't quit. On the other hand, legally, it's her choice once she turns 16. And I understand that I'm the one putting her in this position because I'm the one who wants to move. And so what I realized is that this full moon that we have going on is the reason why I have been in and out, tug of war with myself as far as what I want to do. Because what is it? It's Pisces and Virgo are prominent right now, and that is a tug of war in itself if you know anything about astrology. So having both Pisces and Virgo in my astrological chart just means that I'm feeling everything a lot more than usual. That being said, I'm gonna wait until this full moon is done with, and like a week after, to really just sit down and have this conversation with her in full, because at this point I'm battling with myself about the decision, and I need to really sit down and take this into consideration, because I don't want my baby to quit, y'all. I really don't. I don't want her to give up on herself and her education and her knowledge. I know that, you know, school is not for everybody, and I understand her not wanting to go to college, but I do not understand her wanting to quit high school. And so yeah, and the fact, and I feel like I would be responsible for that, because I'm the one choosing to move, and unfortunately there's nothing that I can do about that decision. So it's either we find a place here or we move out of state. Like, those are the only two options that we have right now. And understanding that I would be the reason why she quits is very disturbing, unsettling, and honestly frustrating and irritating and all the things. So I'm dealing with that, but I will finish up this video when I get home. Yeah. Bye. Unfortunately, my bus was coming and I had to stop the video, but it was very interesting filming out in public. I had people looking at me, people staring at me, and I don't really care. But they was all in my mouth and what I was talking about, because I was sitting at where it's like at a light, and so the people who were in the cars at the light, they kept like listening to what I was saying, so I thought that was funny. Anyways, if my daughter drops out of school, I'm gonna be so upset with myself, and I don't think that is something that I would be able to forgive myself for. And so I'm just very frustrated about the situation in itself, right? I actually, ironically, I got home and I had the new court date in the mail. So I have court in less than 2 weeks, and we're gonna go from there. I do not know how this is gonna work. There's so much that like I want to say, and my mind is racing right now, so putting together coherent sentences it's a bit overwhelming. Okay, so if my daughter quits school, I will never like live that down within myself. So I don't really know what to do. Have you ever felt like you know that it's time to go, and it's like that feeling when you've overstayed your welcome and you know that it's time for you to leave, but you kind of have nowhere to go. So the last time that I stayed with someone like that wasn't family, I felt like I had overstayed my welcome and it was time to go. Then of course the feeling was correct, because then the person that I was living with came to me and said, and we had a conversation, and I guess she realized that her dude was attracted to me, even though I wasn't looking at him. She knew that. She just felt like she was uncomfortable with me being there, knowing that he was attracted to me, and I understood that. That being said, I took my stuff and I left, even though I had nowhere to go. I had like where I was staying at, I was in Atlanta, and so I was not going to no Atlanta shelter. I wasn't doing that. And at the time, I didn't have any children, so just no, I wasn't doing that. I literally slept on the park bench. Like I went to the nearest park to her, and it was like a quiet area, and I knew that, you know, there weren't many people in that area that were out at night. So it was, to me, it was the safest option versus the other options, which were to take the train up and down, and sleep on the train with my stuff, or, you know, try to go into an overcrowded shelter where they steal your stuff when you're asleep. I wasn't doing none of that. I slept on park benches, okay? Right now, the feeling that I'm getting is that feeling where it's time to go. You've overstayed your time in this place. You are not the same person that you were when you moved in here. And while I am grateful that we've had this place for so long, we've been here 11 years in October, or 12 years in October. I think it's 11 years in October. And it's time to go. The place, you know, holds memories, and it's time for a new place. Long story short, right? So while I wouldn't mind moving into another place here, let me rephrase. My soul, right, is like, it's time to go. We need to go do something else, go try something else, go explore another city, blah, blah, blah. My ego is like, but why? We've established, you know, roots here. You know, we know that we can get around safely here. You know, especially with the first time in 9 years not having a vehicle. That's the caveat right there, is because, like, I have not been in this situation before where I haven't had a car for this long, right? And I'm watching this bee because it keeps acting like it wants to, like, come near me. And see, this is why. Anyways, okay, get it together, Shy. Please go away, please. Thank you. Okay, sorry. So being in a position where, like, my ego is like, well, we've established roots here, we know the area, we are in a central place to, like, central to, like, downtown, so it's easy to get around, multiple bus routes, all the things. And so I've realized that that's the tug and war, right? The tug of war. Part of me wants to go, is ready to leave, and the other part of me wants to stay. And it's like, we've established, you know, we've established something here. We've built something here. I understand why my ego is trying to quote unquote protect me, right? Because the unknown is always going to frighten or scare you, even when you think that it's not. When it's your ego in play, usually 9 times out of 10 it's because your ego feels like it needs to take over and it needs to take control because it needs to protect you. I'm at this point where it's like, all right, ego, I love you, right? Because you're not supposed to shun your ego. You're supposed to accept your ego. You're supposed to be understanding and sympathetic with your ego. And then at the same time, tell your ego it's okay to take a step back. I got this from here on out. And so in doing that, I know that if I was to put my ego on the back burner, if I was to put my fear on the back burner, right? Fear of how am I going to do this? How am I going to afford this? How am I going to, how? If I put all of that in the back seat and I just go with what my heart wants, my heart wants to leave this place. Not just this place physically, but this place as in this city, this state, right? I've been here for so long. I'm ready to explore and do something new and be somewhere new. And granted, where we would be moving at, you need a car to get around. And so again, that's the fear. And it's like, well, what if you had all the things that you needed? Where would you go? And I'm like, honestly, if I had all the things that I needed, if I had all the resources and the finances, we would be overseas. We would be going overseas. We would not be getting another place and signing a lease here in the U.S. No, right? But since that's not the case, we have to think realistically. So realistically, if I had the things that I needed to get another place in the U.S., I would definitely move closer to my grandmother. She's getting older in age. She's having some health issues, and what happened with my grandfather, I don't want it to repeat itself. So my grandfather was really sick, and while I understand why my grandmother didn't tell me he was as sick as he was, she didn't want to worry me. I understand, but at the same time, I feel like she would do it again, right? And so when my grandfather passed, he declined very quickly. He stopped going to dialysis. He said he was tired, and it was his decision, but I didn't have the time to put the money together to get down there. And if I really look at it, me going at the end of his life would not have helped. I should have been there earlier in the process. But again, I didn't know. And so I didn't know what I didn't know. And now I know. My grandmother is having health issues. She, you know, she may not admit that she needs help, but she does need a little bit of help. And I want to be able to be there with her and do for her before I don't have that chance. The determining factor will I didn't even know I had done that. The determining factor will definitely be, you know, opportunities and finances, because I have no other way of weighing out what to do, right? So it's like the scales of justice, where you know, you put the decisions or the options on the scale, and you figure out which one does what. And so I'm just like holding on to faith that we will end up where we need to be at the end of it all, regardless of whether or not it's where I want to be. I want to be able to be near my grandmother to help take care of her, to help, you know, with the things that she needs. And I want the chance to be there instead of being so far away. That being said, that is also another reason why going out of the country to stay is not an option for me right now. My grandmother is the closest person that I have in my family. She's the closest family member. She's the brain work. I'm tired and I'm in pain, y'all. Work with me. She's the family member that I am closest to. And if she were to decline while I was overseas, I would never forgive myself, because then I would feel like it was a repeat of what happened to my grandfather. That being said, I would definitely move closer to her, and we could just go and travel. You know what I'm saying? As long as my finances are abundant enough to provide a home and to travel, I would definitely do that. Which is why the whole thing with my daughter just hit a chord, because on one hand, I do understand, right, not wanting to do this all over again for another year, but I don't do quitting, man. Like, you can step away and come back at it. You don't have to quit. And so that's where my motherism, right, comes into play, because it's like, I'm not gonna let you quit. No matter what you say, I'm not gonna let you quit. so I will hound you if I need to. I will talk to you about it every day if I need to. But you're going to do something. You're going to go back to school. And if I can get her, I think if I can get her into the school that my nephew goes to, that's virtual, where she can pick her own hours, and as long as she does the lessons before the day is over and submits the homework, by the time that it's due, she can attend that school. And that school is like $700 for the duration. So $700 now until the time that she graduates. So it would definitely be easier to do that. That way I don't have to fight with her, and I don't have to worry about her not going back to school. I think that I can do the convincing on going to that virtual school. But as far as in person, she's not having it. And so I'm just, yeah, it's like, again, ego. Because the ego is like, you don't have the money, you don't have the finances, you don't have this, you don't have that. And I know these things, right? But I also know in my heart of hearts that I have always been provided for, in the sense that my faith has become stronger, and I see all the times where I've been blessed even when I didn't think I was being blessed. And I know that whatever happens and whatever works out is going to be the best that it can be at that time, right? I know that, yes, I'm afraid of making the wrong choice, but honestly, choices are meant to be made for that reason, so that you can experiment and figure out what it is that you like, what it is that you don't like, how you want to do something, how you don't want to do something. Like that is the point of it all. And there's really no wrong choice. We're all just doing the best that we can in the moment with the information given to us at the time. And so I understand that on one hand, while I may think that I'm messing up, on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, you're not really messing up that bad. You're just making an informed decision. And if this is all the information that you have at this time, and this is the best decision for you at the time, then you're not failing. You are just doing the best that you can with what you got. When they give you lemons, make lemonade. Add some sugar. You know what I'm saying? Make some lemonade. And so I'm really trying to sit in that, because it is this situation is very stressful. And while I have tried not to let stress and worry and doubt and fear take me over, there are days where I am completely in my head and in my ego, like, what am I going to do? And then there are other days where it's like, nope, it's all going to work out. I refuse, because heart problems run in my family. And I have been so stressed out before, where I thought I was going to have a heart attack or a stroke, and I don't want to do that, because then we're all screwed, okay? You can't neglect yourself to the point where something bad happens, and then you end up in a worse situation if you would have just took care of yourself, right? So I'm doing this dance. I'm doing this dance, and while my soul knows that I'm taken care of, my heart knows that I'm taken care of, my mind wanders, and my mind does what it wants to do, and my ego is fueling that. And so it's this back and forth battle and tug-of-war. And I know that I'm not the only one who goes through making these decisions, right? Do I stay at the job that I've been at forever and keep my benefits and my insurance, or do I leave or do I find something else and then leave this job that I know so well that I can do with my eyes closed? Or do I leave this place that I've been in for all of these years that I know pretty much, very well? I won't say like the back of my hand, because there's places that I haven't explored, but I know very well. And it's like, just like with my car, oh, well, should I sell these 2 cars and get this 1 car? Well, here's the benefits of doing this, and then here's the benefits of doing that. Here's the cons of doing this, and here's the cons of doing that. Like, it's always going to be a decision. Yep, you died. Okay, because so I just got bit by a mosquito, so I'm gonna wrap this up, right? So yeah, like it's always gonna be a decision that you have to make, and it's not always the best of circumstances, but you know what, we make do with what we have, and I cannot allow, in good conscience, allow my daughter to quit and not have a backup. So that means I'm gonna have to come up with the $700 for her to go to this school, and possibly my son too, because if we're traveling and he can't be by himself, like, so he might end up having to go to the school too. I know that that's not what he wants because he wants to do football, but you know what, at the end of the day, it is what it is. If the school is like, well, if you're gone for a certain amount of time, he has to be discharged or released or whatever, then fine. But I'm going to explain to them, because I'm putting it out in the universe that we're going to start traveling. So I'm going to explain to the school, like, listen, we travel a lot, and so I need y'all to be able to work with me. Maybe he can do his school virtually or whatever the case may be, and see if they'll work with me, you know, because there's no harm in asking. And, you know, closed mouths don't get fed. So, that being said, I'm gonna go and cook dinner now. I finally got some fruits and vegetables that are from local farms, and I don't have to worry about the grocery store. And yo, like, before I go, I literally, when I want some vegetables, I literally will go and open a can of corn or green beans or collard greens, and while that is satisfactory for the moment, I also know that it is not really good to eat a whole bunch of canned stuff all the time. And so I literally just went against my body and decided to go to the farmer's market today and go to the grocery store to get the other things that I need. And I'm happy that I made that decision, because I got me some zucchini and broccoli, and the summer squash, garlic, these little watermelons that I've never seen before. They're like this big. He said something about cannonballs. They're like this big, and cantaloupe. And so I'm about to go stuff my face. I ain't even gonna lie, I've been waiting. So y'all have a wonderful day, night, whatever, wherever you are. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye. Oh, another mistake.